Assalamu alaikum all, welcome back to my channel. I pray that you're all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a relationship and trauma informed coach. So if you're interested in being coached in those areas, you can find me over on my website, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. You can also find me on Patreon, where I coach women through all topics that relate to femininity and how to build our feminine softness. So whether you're single or married and you're looking to increase or improve your femininity, then definitely check me out on Patreon for that content. Link is also in the description box down below. So today, ladies, we are talking about serious questions that men who are serious about marriage ask. Again, I do want to say before I begin, some of these questions are questions that he will ask you as the woman, and some of these questions are questions that he should be asking himself. So through conversation, you may understand that he has some of these things in mind. It'll make more sense when I get started. Number one, do you have any debt? Men who don't ask these questions, I'm just like, you should be asking these questions, guys. You should be asking a woman if she has debt. Just the same way as a woman should also be asking a man if he is in any debt at all. And I know money can be a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and some people just don't even want to talk about it. But I think it is going to be important if your income is going to join together in any way after marriage. We know that in Islam, a woman's money is her money. The husband's money is the family's money because he's responsible for the upkeep of his family. But the woman's money is her money. But as a husband too, you may also want to know if your wife is in debt. You want to know because it may impact what she's able to contribute towards a household, if she wants to contribute anything towards the household, right? So I think it's an important conversation that men who are serious actually ask about. And I was asked this question by a guy who was interested in marrying me some time ago, and you know, it was an interesting conversation to have, because when he found out that I didn't have debt, he was just like, wow, that's actually quite surprising. So then it went on to him asking me how I managed uni and all of these other things. So it's a conversation that can lead to other things and build a deeper understanding of one another. So men who are serious about marriage will ask you if you have debt. So ladies, don't take to offense if you do have some debt. Just say, yeah, I do. And then as a mature adult, if you have debt, you should be working towards clearing your debt. You want to be open about that. Don't lie. And then when you get married, you then drop it on him that you're 50K in debt or 60K in debt or whatever. If it's student loans, as a lot of people get these days, be honest about it. If it's just bad financial decisions that you've made, be honest about it. If you had to get into debt borrowing from a halal resource because you was in need at some stage in your life, be honest about it. I think don't be too afraid about some of these things. The person who really wants you will understand that life happened and this is the result. But as a responsible person, as long as you're working your way towards clearing that and it's not going to be his responsibility, I don't see why he should be upset about that. But responsible men will ask you, do you have debt? Second question, do you want children? And I think this is a nicer way to ask a woman, because again, the topic of having children can be a very sensitive one for many reasons. Some women are going through endometriosis and that may influence their ability to conceive easily. Some women may not be able to have children. Some women, depending on their age, may take offense to this question actually if you ask. But I've found in my experience that men who are serious about marriage will ask these questions, either because they themselves want children and they want to marry somebody who can have children, or they may not even want kids. So they want to make sure that, okay, yeah, I'm aligned, and myself and this lady that I'm about to attach myself to, we are on the same path about these things. Because surprisingly, even though the percentage is smaller, some men don't want children. Some men have already had kids from other relationships and all of that, and they're just kind of like done with the whole kids thing. I don't want any more children, right? And I think that if there is anything that may impact your ability to have a child, it can be a very sensitive topic to talk about. So men, if you ask these questions, give the woman a little bit of space and a little bit of room to discuss these things when she feels she's ready. Now, when she feels she's ready really shouldn't be after marriage. It should preferably be before. But I just think it's a recipe for disaster if you know that you're a woman that may not be able to conceive and you don't tell a man that, and then after marriage it comes out, because he's going to feel cheated into, he's going to feel tricked. Yeah, so you don't have to come out and say, no, I can't have kids. But if you know that there may be some challenge around that, just be honest and say, that I think there may be some challenges around that because of X, Y, and Z. But again, we're doing something about it. My family's helping me to solve the issue. I'm seeing a doctor, or I'm doing something about it myself by changing my diet X, Y, and Z. And just kind of let that person know that it's not just an issue that you've just ignored, but it's something you're working towards. And the rest is really about trusting Allah. Honestly, I think the rest is about trusting Allah, because there can be a lot of fear around this topic of ability to have children or not have children, and women just being scared of being able to say to a man, I may not, because they are afraid that that man would then leave them, or that man would then say, well, then would you be open to polygamy? So it's a tough conversation to have, but I found that men who are serious about marriage do touch on the area of children. This next question relates to what I said earlier on, when I said they may not ask you this question, but the men may be asking themselves these questions and thinking about something like this. And the question is, can we communicate effectively? Do I feel a sense of peace with her? Some of us who are so dramatic as women think that we can carry the same dramatic ways into marriage, and marriage should be fine and the man should just deal with it. Men these days are not into that. They will be asking themselves, myself and this woman, like, are we communicating well here? Because if we're not, there's a chance that after we get married, we're going to struggle. And a lot of men who know that they are not so soft in their ways as well, they're quite like harsh dictators and things like that. They are not looking for women who have strong boundaries. They're not looking for women who are very confident, because they know they're going to struggle with taming a woman like that. And that doesn't mean that you should change if you're a confident woman, but I'm just saying you can begin to see the discrepancies and ways that you're different just by asking yourself this question: how do we communicate? Do we communicate effectively? How you communicate before you get married is going to be slightly different to how you do it after marriage, but for the most part, each individual's communication style remains the same. So if there's already problems before marriage, chances are those problems tend to stay even after marriage. Even though you tell yourself, no, it's going to be different because, we're going to be married and this scenario is going to go away, so we won't have to argue anymore. You will argue about other things, and their style of communicating will come through in those ways as well. So men who are serious about marriage really do ask themselves about, what's my life going to look like? How's communication going to be with this woman that I want to become my wife? Is this going to be a woman with which I feel a sense of peace, or is she just going to be drama all day, every day? And that is one thing that's either going to draw him closer or pull him away. If he feels like the two of you are just not going to gel very well together, he may decide to let that to let you go. And ladies, don't take any offense to that. But what I will say is sometimes take lessons from that. If there is a part of you that you feel is a little bit too harsh and you need to soften up on, that's why I have my femininity group. That group really was created for women who are in positions where they are natural leaders, right? So leaders in the workplace, or they're very career orientated, or they've always had to be the providers in the home. Women who have experienced those type of experiences, it's shaped them in some ways that sometimes they may find it challenging to soften up a bit in the setting of a relationship. And so that femininity group was really about helping those women and coaching those women through learning to soften up in other ways, especially as it relates to relationships as well, so that they can thrive, right? So that they can have a balance of when to be that boss lady and when actually to be soft and feminine, so that they can be taken care of by the healthy masculine man. So yes, men who are serious about marriage will think about and ask themselves question about how the both of you are communicating throughout this talking phase, as we call it in Islam. The next question that, again, a man will be thinking about before he decides to marry you, but may not ask you this. Well, actually, he may ask you this question in terms of, what do you think about hijab? So if you're not a woman that usually wears hijab, he may ask you, what do you think about hijab, in order to get this point across. And the point is, does she carry herself with a certain level of integrity? He may not have the exact words, but he's thinking around those things. Like, most men usually want their wives to carry themselves with a certain level of integrity. If you lack integrity, he may really not be seeing you as wife material. And that's sometimes what a lot of women lack, but they don't know. They don't realize that it's what they lack. So they're like, but I'm so pretty and I'm gorgeous and I'm very attractive. Or why am I finding it hard to find a guy? Well, it might be your attitude. It might be the way you carry yourself. It might be the way you present, right? Most men who are serious about marriage want a woman who has a certain level of integrity. So you have to learn to build your integrity as a woman. And that's not to do with behaving in a certain kind of way just only in front of other people. It's to do with who you are at your core. Do you value commitment? And do you show commitment as well? Do you carry yourself with a sense of self-respect? Do you have dignity? These things are very important. And we don't talk about it much often, but it's something that goes through the mind of men, because I've spoken to certain men who are like, yeah, that woman, yeah, she looks pretty, but I wouldn't marry her because look at how she carries herself. She's going to be embarrassing me in front of my friends and my family. You need to have a certain level of integrity, and men will be asking themselves these type of questions before they marry you. So if he says to you, what do you think about hijab? It's either he would prefer that you wear hijab, and if he's a man that's God-fearing, most of the time he would prefer that you wear hijab. But if it comes across as, don't want my wife to wear hijab, I don't want none of that, then at least you know where his level of commitment to his deen is. And deen should be number one on our list of what we need our men to be, is to be committed to Islam. And if a man is saying, I don't want my wife wearing hijab, I'm really questioning his deen and where that is, okay? And I don't advise you put yourself in that situation. That's just my candid advice, because we should always put Allah first, above everything else that we're seeking in this world. A man who is serious about marriage will ask you, what are your dreams and goals about the future? Because again, he wants to know if it aligns with his, and if he's on board with what you're seeing as your future life. If what you want is completely different from what he wants his wife to be. If you're like a model or whatever, you take pictures and you do modeling, and this guy does not want his wife taking pictures of herself and posting it on social media, but that is like your life's dream, that is, you've always seen yourself doing that, you're always going to do that, you're never going to give that up. If a man doesn't want his wife doing that, would you be okay sacrificing that for a man that you want? And he's going to be thinking to himself, is there going to be peace in the home if she's doing this thing that I know I hate, I know I don't want my wife to do? Are we going to be okay if she keeps doing it? Because he may be able to tolerate it 1 or 2 times, but then 6 years into the marriage, 10 years into the marriage, he may just be done, which means that this marriage may not last. So it's important that you guys align and what you want is similar. Can you ladies see how all of these things marry into each other? Men think about these things, okay? Like I said, as a woman, you should also be thinking about these things. It doesn't mean it's only a man that thinks about it. It's just that sometimes us women, we're so carried away by our emotions. Oh, he's so nice and the way he talks to me. We don't actually think about these relevant parts of what actually make a marriage work. And because men can be a little bit more black and white, they can see these things more practically than we can at times, especially when we're emotionally invested. So women, take into account all of these questions and that I've spoken about. You can also ask men the same things as well. It really helps. It really does help. So guys, I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the video. I have enjoyed making it for you guys. If you've enjoyed it, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section down below. It helps my videos to, it helps the algorithm to share my videos to more people, which means more people can benefit from the content of the videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen this video that I made a few days ago, definitely make sure you go over there and watch that video, and I will speak to you guys there. Thanks, my ladies. See you later. Assalamu alaikum.